All right. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the stash tabs and what I think is the best way to go about it in terms of buying your stash tabs and spending money on a free game. So when you are inside of the game, you can press your M button on your keyboard to bring up the microtransaction um, shop. And in here, there's a abundance of customization you can buy. None of it really equals out to power per se, right? So you can't buy a skill gem in here that gives you 100% increased power, damage, whatever, right? There's not no such things for sale at all. But however, I would consider this slightly powerful to buy your stash tabs. Um, and there are certain ones that are phenomenal, and then there are ones that are okay, and then there are ones that are less useful. But in the end, I think now that all of them are fairly useful actually, and it just becomes a little bit easier to manage a lot of things when you have the stash tabs. They are currently not on sale, but every 3 weeks they go on sale. There'll be a little in game message saying that currently this weekend we are hosting a Stash Tab sale. Just pay attention if you see that in the chat over here. It's not something that it's gonna spam constantly over and over and over or anything. It's something that happens when you log in one time, and then I don't remember if it happens the next day when you log in. It might, but it's not something they push for super hard, which is something I really, really, really appreciate. When it comes to stash tabs, you have different tabs that are basically used for specific items, and then you have tabs that are just basically a regular tab that you can add items into. And the stash tabs that you buy, now you will start out by having like 1 to 4, right? So you have these 4 normal stash tabs, which is plenty to run through the campaign and basically to get through maps. I would say, like, once you start getting to red maps, if you still enjoy the game at that point, right? That's the point where I would sit down and then make the decision to invest $60 into the game would be my choice. So the way I would do it personally is I would go to the store and then go to buy packs, and instead of buying um, 3 of these, for instance, and getting 600 points to spend on the stash tabs, I would personally, or what I have done, is I have bought one of the supporter packs. So with a supporter pack, you are spending $60, and you are then gaining 600 points to spend on your stash tabs, but you're also getting like an armor set, there's a finisher effect, there is a back attachment, there is a character like profile picture, and a supporter pack title on the forum, and like a couple of things that's worth it, right? And they have multiple different types of packs. One thing that I wasn't aware of on buying my first pack, so I have bought more than one pack, but buying my first pack, I bought a supporter pack that was specific to the league. And I regretted that later when I found out how the supporter pack system works. And when I found out how it works, I then went and bought this pack. So I bought one that was league specific, which is these up here, right? Each league there'll be 2 new supporter packs. So this league there's the Paladin, and we have the red one here, the Penance, right? So that's like the 2 supporter packs we get for this league in Settlers. But there's also a yearly supporter pack, which comes in a little bit more varieties, right? So this one comes in 3. You have the 30, the 60, and the $90. So both packs have the season themed packs have 3 basic packs in them, right? The yearly pack starts at 60, then there's 100, 160, 240, 320, and 480, right? So that's the options. And if you were to buy a pack of any of them, if I buy the $60 pack, this one now becomes cheaper. Since you already spent $60, now this pack will only be $40. Since this pack holds the previous pack, which is this right here, and all the other stuff that you're seeing right here. So as you're seeing, you have this pack. If you buy this one, you're getting the 2 previous packs. So you're getting that one and this one. If you choose to buy this one pack, you're basically getting 3 packs all in one, right? So that I basically bought this pack, right? But if I now wanted to buy this $240 one, since I already bought the previous pack, this one at 160, you can see now I can choose to buy this one for $80 instead of the $240, because I've already spent money on the game. So that is a very, very nice feature. I would go for a supporter pack, get the $60 one, and then you use that on your stash tabs, basically. And with $60, you should be able to buy pretty much every stash tab that you want. So if we go from what I would consider the most important stash tabs to the least important stash tabs, and I'll give a short explanation on what each stash tab is about. So the most important, in my opinion, will be the currency stash tab. With the currency stash tab, first and foremost, you're getting some free spots, right? So you can put almost any item. So you can't put an item that's not in currency. As you can see, I can't put my jewel in here, but I can put any currency item in there. It's not a set spot that you have to put something in here. You can put any currency item in one of these spots. So in the case of settlers, we have these ruins, which are a new currency, and they don't have a specific spot to go to. They go to 250 in stacks, but still it's nice to just put them in here so they have their own spot, right? But this is for your basic currencies, so your scrolls, some of your crafting currencies, some of the map currencies, and atlas currency, and armor currency, and stuff that you can use over time as you're progressing through the game to better yourself and your gear options and your character. I won't go over each one of these. I'll make a separate video going over each one. And this is your basic, most powerful stash tab, I think, because you'll find a lot of certain, as you can see, it says I have 3,200 of these, and they come in stacks of 20. So as you can see, this is gonna take up a lot of fucking space. If you only have 4 of these stash tabs, you're not gonna have a lot of space to put anything in there if you want to save a bunch of alterations. And in the Settlers League, alterations are basically the #1 way to craft your gear now. So you want to stack those as much as you can in order to craft the best gear you can. Now, there is a separate tab inside of the currency tab, which hold some more special type of currencies. You could call this so you have it's basically in sections, right? So you have an orb section right here, which is from your not pinnacle, but the the guys that protect the pinnacle bosses, and then you have your Beyond Demon currency area, and then we have our Emperors and Acres, which is basically our Syrian. Like, it's two bosses, two different. There's a red boss and a blue boss, and they drop specific themed currencies that you use on your gear, and you have those in here too. We have our chisels, which is a new thing, so they just added this, which is a kind of cool thing. So if you played the previous league, this whole area wouldn't be here. So whenever they put something new in here that you need to stack a bunch of, usually they'll make a new spot for it, so it doesn't, you don't have to buy a new stash tab now because they've added a new section to it. They'll just update the ones you have already. So I would consider this the #1 purchase. Depending on what you're playing, so if you're playing hardcore, if you're playing softcore, if you're playing on trade league, or if you're a solo player who don't want to play with other people, I would consider it a little bit different what I would go for. For instance, let me explain. So #1 is definitely doing your currency stash tab. #2, in my opinion, is maps. You're gonna want to have maps, as you can tell. They drop quite frequently, and it's just nice to have everything sorted out by tiers, so it's easy to recognize where the next map you want to do is, and how many maps you have in total of a specific tier. As you can see, I have 1,100 tier 16 maps. Excuse me. And that is super convenient, and it saves a lot of time from you having to look through your stash. Let's say, let's use these tombs as an example. If they were maps, I would have them I have to sit here and read everything to figure out which one I wanted to do, to see which one was T16, to see which one was rare or the right kind, or whatever I needed it to be. So I would say currency, maps, and then now the next one kind of depends on what you're playing. If you are playing solo self-found, I would most certainly get the Essence tab, because you're going to be crafting a lot yourself. You're not going to be trading, so you're not going to care too much about having a stash tab that lets you trade through the stash tab, which we'll get to in just a second. So I would go the Essence, and then I would take the Delve if I go that direction, because that's also something that takes up a lot of space. But if you're not going to use the Delve crafting methods, then there's no point in buying the stash tab, really, because you're not going to be farming a whole lot of these. But these just drop randomly, constantly, all the time, basically. So you're gonna kind of want to have the stash tab at some point. Now, if you're playing Trade League, I would most certainly say the next most important thing would be a stash tab, which is a premium tab, so you can use it to sell an item. And how that works is, if you have an item and you want to sell the item, then you just right click on the item, and then you can, normally it'll say like this, right? Normally it'll go like this. It'll say note, and then you can choose negotiable price, exact price, or do not index, right? And I'll explain them in just a second. But we'll start with the exact price. So let's say this jewel is 1 divine. That's what I want for it. So we choose the currency that we want, and we have basically all of the currencies here that's really worth talking about. But what you're going to mainly focus on is chaos and divine. Divine being the better one. So we're going to say 1 divine exact price, and then press yes. And now this is for sale. So if we were to go to the trade page and we were to search up for the item I had for sale, we can just do any item to kind of show off how it works. If we were to buy a Mage Blood heavy belt, then we it's somebody has listed this for 200 divine, basically inside of one of these stash tabs. And that's how I'm able to search it up on their webpage and then see it with a price. Now, that is for Trade League. If you're not playing Trade League, don't worry about getting a stash tab, a premium stash tab. It does not really matter to you. So the next thing after getting your premium stash tab, assuming that you are on trade, right? Then having a card stash tab is gonna be the next thing. Cards come in abundance too. There is so many cards. If we're looking at the ones I'm currently just holding, and you can see how many there is of each one of them, right? But just look how many fucking cards is here. This is insane. And some of them you get a lot of. So if we go to owned, oh, not owned, full stacks, you can see I have 286 of these, for instance. Now, this is gonna take up a absolute crazy amount of space. And you might not want to save all of them. You might not even want to pick all of them up. But in the end, it's just one of those very convenient stash tabs that saves a lot of space in the regular stash tab. And when it gets to a point where you feel like, okay, I really love the game, I've played it for X amount of hours, and is it then worth the $60 price tag, right? And the way I personally view that is, if you calculate how much time you spend on a game and you've been happy playing the game and you paid a certain amount for the game, that's basically the value of your time. So if I buy, let's just say Diablo, if I buy Diablo 4 for $100 and I play it for 80 hours and then I'm bored and I don't want to play it anymore, then I paid $100 for 80 hours playtime. That's how I view it, right? So with PoE, I played it for like 1,500 hours now or something like that, maybe more. And I feel like, what's the value I've gotten out of the game? If I were to, like, I played Diablo 4 for a little bit, I got super bored, super fast. I don't want to play that game anymore, ever. So I feel like I didn't play it 80 hours. I played it more like 30 hours, and I lost interest. So $100 for 30 hours, that would mean that if it was in PoE terms, I would have to pay. You gotta divide the 1,500 hours, right? With the 30 hours to find out how many times I had to pay $100 on those 1,500 hours, right? In order to technically have the same value as Diablo 4 was. And that when I think about that, I would have to pay thousands of dollars for PoE to basically give them back the kind of money that I feel like I used, right, in terms of playtime. And that's why I bought a $200 character pack, right? Like I spent $200 on the game, is because I feel like the value is there. So that's up to you guys to decide what you think the value of the game is, right? But next, after the cards, I would go for either the unique stash tab, depending. The unique stash tab is just super nice. I didn't actually know I would love it as much as I do. In Diablo, we have something called the Holy Grail, where it's about finding every unique item in the game, and it can be a very, very, very hard task, and it takes a long ass time to do. And you don't have a stash tab. You have to make a shit ton of mules, and they hold a bunch of fucking shit. And oh my god, it's just terrible. This allows you to see how far you have gotten collecting items. It literally tells you 55% of the flasks has been collected here. And then this is just a simple way to basically keep track of items that you have found. Also, it's a very easy way to pick up something, put in here, and then save it for later. So what I mean by that is there are certain items, if we go in here for instance, you'll see that I have an item that does not have a level requirement on it. So how that works is now I can go on to a new character that doesn't have any level, that's level 1, and as long as it has 17 intelligence, I can put this armor onto him and gain all of these benefits as a level 1. But if you were to have this item sitting in your stash, right, it would take up a lot of space. So if you were to fill your 4 stash tabs with a bunch of items, you don't really get to hold a lot of stuff because it just takes up a lot of stuff, like space, super quickly. So the unique stash tab has saved me a lot of space on my regular stash tabs. And I would say it go. So let's go. It's currency, maps. Depending on how or like what you're playing, is either essence or a premium, and then the delve if you do that, and then it's uniques, and I would say fragments. Fragments are another thing that you are just gonna get an absolute stupid amount of, as you will be like, as you can see here, I'm getting a ridiculous amount of these different resources. And for the fragments, it's basically your end game design, what you want to do for your end game. This is everything you can use to boost your end game strategies and tactics and gain as much loot as you possibly can. So that is probably the last and most of the important stash tabs. At this point, we are pretty set. If you have bought those stash tabs, you're pretty set. You shouldn't have any issues from here and then for a long ass time. Now, of course, if you're a massive hoarder like I am and I can't help myself, I just pick up everything and I collect it all. You're gonna wanna have them all at the end. It's just more convenient to have all the stash tabs. But let's talk about the less important ones and useful ones, but still very convenient. This is not the ones you have to buy. This is the ones you can buy if you want to, and if you love the game enough, and if you feel like GGG have provided a product that's worth the price you pay. So if we start here with the gems, I'm not gonna take these in order from most to least useful, because that really depends on what you do and how you do it. So with the gems, I feel like it's nice because I hoard gems like a motherfucker, and the reason I do that is because I like to sell gems that have quality on them. There is basically a recipe. So if you sell gems that have collectively 40 20% quality gives you a gem cutters, but you can also, it doesn't have to have 20%, it can have 2%, and then you have another that has 8 and one that has 10, and you sell them all and you still get the gem cutters. So that's why I like to hoard gems with quality. Also, because I like to do something called the labs, which is basically a way to upgrade your gems from a regular gem. And this is gonna be a little bit weird, but there's like multiple versions of the same gem, right? So you have the regular version, which is Ice Nova, and then there's a transfigured version, which you get from doing this laboratory right here. So I like to hoard gems and do the laboratory and gain a bunch of these transfigured gems, and some of them can be really good. Some of them are worth a lot of currency, so you can sell them if you don't want to use them. But I just like to hoard them like a motherfucker. So for that reason, I had to get the gem tab. It also helps. You can like find specific gems really fast. You don't have to sit there and read every single one of them. The next one would be the Blight stash tab. Of course, this is also super nice. It separates your blighted maps from your map tab. So now it's a lot easier to find your blighted maps. It also holds all your oils, and it allows you to upgrade your oils from inside of here. So you can choose to press the upgrade button, and if you press one of these, you can see it upgrades to the next in line. That actually is a feature that is available on your Essence tab as well. If you press upgrade and you have 3 of one kind, you can then upgrade 3 of one kind to a better version of the same kind. So that's how that works, and it works on the Essence tab, and it works on the Blight tab. Very simple and very easy. You can also anoint your amulets directly in here. You can anoint your blighted maps directly in here. So basically you just add the oils and you press the anoint button, and that's it. You get the upgrade. Very nice, very easy, very convenient. Super, I really love this. Another one is the Catalyst. So this one moves, is one of the features of one of the previous leaks, just like Delve is a feature, Delirium is a feature, Blight is a feature, Ultimatum is also a feature, or a leak mechanic. It has its own stash tab because, again, this is something that drops quite a bit if you're doing and grinding this specific thing. Also, if you're not grinding, and as you can see, I never do ultimatums, but I still drop a shit ton of these. So for that reason, I just got the tab for just so I didn't have to have them sitting in the regular stash tab. Your inscribed ultimatums, which is a droppable map basically, they now go in their own spots in here, so they are also easier to find. And then you have Delirium, which holds your Delirium orbs. It holds your splinters and your Synchro-Lacum, and then all of your delirious maps that are already delirious, which is again super nice. It separates it out of the map tab and then into its own tab, so it's easier to basically find everything that you want. And if you want to do some delirium maps, it's super easy to write right in here, and you don't have to sit there and look through each map tab to figure out which one has the delirium map in it, right? Then you have your flask stash tab, so not to be confused with the unique stash tab, because it also has room for flasks. You can put one of each unique item in here, right? So you cannot stack them. You cannot have 5 of the Lion's Roar. You can only have the one in here, right? So for that reason, I also am someone who likes to put away or put aside certain flasks because I might use them, or I am using them, or I find one that has good quality. This has 25% quality. 20 is normally the highest you can get. So for instance, finding something like that, I want to put it aside in case I want to use it on a character later down the line. Having something like that put aside, already sitting there, ready to go, it's just very convenient, and it's very easy. And then for our Sell tab to explain just how you can use each one of the tabs as like each one of the premium devoted stash tabs. You can use each one of those as a trade tab as well. So how that works, for instance, is with your premium stash tabs, if you go up here and you click your right button on the tab itself up here, you can then choose a color for it, which you of course don't have to. You can give it a specific name, and you can freely change any of these things. They are 100% customizable. You can do whatever you want. You can choose to add specific items to the specific tab without actually being on the tab, which I will show in just a second. And then you can, of course, choose different choices for selling. So you can put your items up for sale. That also works with each one of these devoted tabs. So if I go here, I can put public, and if I press public like this, I can then choose if I want to put a specific price on things, if it's negotiable or whatever, right? And I can choose to make this a devoted essence tab. I can choose a color and a name, of course. And how this devotion works is if I have picked up, let's just say I picked up some essences and I was out grinding like that. When I get back to my stash and I come walking up here and I open up my stash, I want to put these into this stash tab. And what you'll see now is I hold down control and I press my left button, mouse button, and it just automatically puts it in the right spot. So if we go over here, you'll now see that goes in here, right? It goes in there even though I'm not on the specific page in my stash. So that's what's convenient about having these stash tabs that are devoted to specific items, because instead of having to scroll to each one of your tab, press the button to put an item in here, now each one of these has their own specific thing that goes in there. Now I just, whatever I have out, we go like this. We can take let's take some essence, and we'll take some of these, and we'll take a couple of bottles, and we'll take some stuff here, and some you see, like, let's say I just came out of a map, I just looted, I've found all the stuff I want to come back up to my stash tab. Instead of having to go here, oh, this is it's a delirious map, I have to go to my map stash tab and then put it in here, or like I have to go to my delirium stash tab and put it in here, right? Now I can just put everything into its respectable like spot without ever like looking at the specific tabs, and it'll put all the items back in where they're supposed to be, or where you chose to put them. So yeah, that works phenomenally with each one of these tabs. It's just absolutely brilliant the way they made this, and I love it. It's the one singular feature in the game that you have to pay for that is a must to own in some kind of way, but it's worth it. I think it's very much so worth it. There's of course also the possibility, as you can see, you start out with 4 tabs and I have 9. So there is an option that you can just buy these regular stash tabs. There's also something called a quad stash tab, which is basically 4 of these put together into one stash tab. These are very nice too, and this also functions as your trade tab. So I have this set up so I can put items for sale in this one and in this one. So I can like have the less expensive items in the big window because I'll get more of those, and the more expensive items in the little window, just for convenience and to easily figure out where it's at and how to like move around it, right? Now, there is of course also just to make one thing clear that wasn't per se super clear for me in the beginning. These of course go across everywhere. So if you want to play solo self-found, if you want to play hardcore, if you want to play softcore, trading, whatever, however you want to play the game, you'll have all of these tabs available. Now, of course, if you're creating a softcore character and then afterwards decide, I want to play hardcore, and you then go create a hardcore character, you'll have all the same tabs available on both characters. But of course, since you're in softcore, you won't have the items in here available on hardcore. So it's not cross like that. It is cross platform though. In PoE 2, it'll be like whatever stash tabs you buy in PoE 1, whatever you have of cosmetics or microtransactions will be transferred into PoE 2. So you will still have it when you start playing PoE 2, and it's just phenomenal the way they did it. And I really think Diablo have missed out on not making a unique stash tab for the Holy Grail. That is, in my opinion, one of the biggest fuck ups they've done. They should 100% have added that fucking 20 years ago. 100%. Right. And there is, of course, the possibility, if you wanted to, if you decided to, you could buy multiple of the same stash tab. So if you are like just crazy on crafting and you have more than 5,000 of each of the essences, then sure, you could buy a second essence tab and have two of these. That's a possibility for sure. That's completely up to you. Again, with the 3 spots right here is basically, so I can't put my jewel in here, but anything that I could technically, can I put my, no, I wasn't sure if that would work, but anything that I can craft, I should be able to, with the essence that is, I should be able to put in here. So if we take a amulet, for instance, right? So, no. I can only put it in the big one. That's weird. I'm not sure what these are for then. I have never used them. I've just like paid attention that they are there. But you can put an item into the main part of that stash tab, and that works for multiple of them, right? So for convenience, so let's say you are crafting some gear, and by crafting you kind of want to, maybe you want to like scour, like use the scour to make an item gray and then upgrade it to a blue item and then reroll a blue item, instead of having it sitting in here and have to go over here or put everything into the inventory and do it. The convenience is you can just put it in here, use your whatever you need on the item, all happening within the tab without you having to move it around. And that, as I said, that goes for pretty much every tab here. It has a window for you to use it in a way that it's more convenient, right? It also goes for your delirium maps, right? You can put a map here and you can then add your whatever you want. It just works very like it's super convenient. It's super convenient. And I don't think this should be a in-game feature per se. I don't think you should get this for free. I do think this is the barrier to entry on the game. So if you really do like the game and you like what PoE is and what grinding gear games stand for and how they tend to their community, $60 for a game at this size is very cheap. Very cheap. I don't think there's anything on the market priced in that area that is equally as massive and well thought through as this is. It's just not. That's just not. Okay. I think we rounded out all of the stash tabs. and everything worth talking about when it comes to the stash tabs. As you can see, we have this bundle with 6 stash tabs for 150. Of course, if you wait till they're on sale, you'll get them a lot cheaper, right? Like this will be like 110 instead of 150, and this will be like 30 instead of 40, and so on and so forth. So I suggest if you really love the game, getting the extra 6 stash tabs as I did is kind of a nice thing. It's kind of awesome. And then I upgraded one of them to a premium, so I had 2 basically sell tabs, right? And I have been really comfortable with this so far. It's not been an issue whatsoever. It's been pretty straight ahead, no issues. It made me understand all the currencies and everything a lot easier because it's categorized now. So you know when you're in a specific area, okay, this is this mechanic. This is all I can expect here, right? You know what I mean? Like this is what I should expect to get a lot of. And it's very convenient to understand the game and to play the game too. It's super convenient. You can put negotiable pricing on here. That means basically people will hit you up and give you an offer for an item. That is a possibility. You can do that if you want to. I never really do it. I always put a specific price on the item that I feel like, okay, this is roughly what it's worth. There is, of course, programs that help you with the pricing the items, but that's for a separate video. And also, we do have the option to like buy microtransactions and change the look of the stash and other stuff like that. Not really super necessary in my opinion. If you grab a stash tab, you can move it. Just if that might not be super obvious, but it's very convenient. So you can like basically set everything up in the color, order, name, and everything that you like, that you want. So it's most recognizable to you, right? Like you might have something that just makes sense to call it whatever. I call my Delve tab the Steve, or like on the other last league I call it I call it like stained or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I call it. I called it something that was with Shit Stained Steve, or to a Twister on Twitch. This is like a guy that I kind of like. He's like a super cool dude. He's from my country, and so I just felt like I wanted to devote it. And he's basically the #1 Delve player. So I thought that it just made sense to devote it to him and call it that. It was just fun. It's like a funny joke, right? But an inside joke. You have to like kind of know the game to understand that. But you could call it whatever you wanted to. You could basically do whatever you wanted to that made most sense for you. So that's super convenient. I hope that kind of explained how the stash tabs works and which ones to get. I hope that this helps out, because I was really confused on it in the beginning. I chose myself to do a bunch of mules on my first league. Basically, I had 10 mules or 15 mules, because that's how I'm used to doing it on Diablo. So I started out doing that, but it just became overwhelming, and it got to a point where it was too much, right? Like I had fucking to go through 5 characters to find one item, and it just took so much time. Also, putting stuff into my stash took forever, because I had to like move everything in here, and then once it was in here I had to move it around so everything was like sitting in the right spot to not like be confusing. So having everything pushed into a certain tab and it just automatically goes in there, I don't actually have to physically be on the tab or anything. It just makes so much sense, and it makes it so much easier. And I don't think there is a limit on stash tabs per se, Maybe the limit is like 100 or something like that. But you can basically have like 100 stash tabs if you wanted to. It'll just like be like it is right here, right? Like a line, arrow you can press up and down. You'll basically just have an arrow down here. You can just move down, or you can like do like this, like push to the side and just keep going infinitely, or at least to like 100 or something. And do you need 100 stash tabs? Probably not. I would say having just the currency, the fragments, the maps, and the essence, the cards, and premium. That's about it, man. With that, you're pretty set to get through 1 to 10, get from Act 10 to red maps, get from red maps to endgame. That's pretty much doable with those tabs alone. You have to be a little bit more aggressive on what you keep and what you throw out. As I said, I'm a big ass hoarder when it comes to this game. I can't fucking help it. I just want to save everything. So it takes a lot of stash tabs to save a bunch of shit. If you are a lot more aggressive with selling and giving away and throwing out stuff, you should be able to do it with the ones I suggested, no problem. But yeah, I hope that was informational that you could use, and like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and I'll catch you all in the next one.